Hi there, everyone.
Hi, everybody.
Hope everyone is doing well. We're super excited to be here. My name is Seb.
And I'm Ben, CEO, and we're both co-founders at Melting Spot. So very happy to have you today on this webinar. We're going to introduce you with the figures um, from the latest CS Nation survey.
And we're going to start by quickly introducing Melting Spot and telling you more about what we do here. We're passionate about customer education. And what we do is, in a nutshell, we help companies and mostly SaaS businesses do customer education at scale, and we help them host customer education and community features right inside their product, and that is where their customers already are. So that's what we do with an in-product customer education platform that can be dropped inside your own SaaS interfaces. We can talk more about Multispot later, but that's not today's points. We would like to talk through the customer survey that we organized for almost a year now. We started this survey in spring 2023, meaning that we have a wide range of responses so far. We've had over 2,000 respondents, to take this survey. Before we do so, I just want to make sure that you hear us loud and clear. So feel free to drop in your hellos and give us a thumb up if you can hear us fine. In the chat, I see we have we have a few people tuning in. I'm laughing because Tom is logging in from Belgium and he says it ain't sunny. I don't doubt this. Hi, Isabel. Thanks for tuning in. Feel free to tell us where you're logging in from, wherever you're tuning in from, whether you're on LinkedIn or following us on Melting Spot on our CS Nation group. Just drop in your hellos, and I think we're all set because looks like you can hear us loud and clear. Feel free to ask any questions in the chat, either in LinkedIn or on the CS Nation group. Hi, Leah. Nice to meet you again. Nice to see you. Thanks for being here. And any questions, again, drop them in the chat so we can take them on the fly and make this session as collaborative as possible and as conversational as possible. So all good. I think we have a green light to keep going. So just a quick intro into the survey that we've been running. It's probably one of the most comprehensive surveys around the rise of digital CS that has been conducted in the last few months. A quick profile review of the respondents. We have a good mix between CS leaders, so head of and customer success directors, and on the one side, and on the other side, customer success managers. So a variety of senior and less senior people, and we'll touch on some of these job titles later on. From an industry perspective and company size, we have a good mix of B2B and B2C. One thing to note is that customer success and digital customer success is not reserved to SaaS, even if it's probably an area where customer education is most advanced. There's also a lot of professional services that are in need of educating their customers. Essentially, anything complex requiring a lot of attention, hand-holding, but with the need to scale is a good candidate for rolling out customer education, digital customer education strategies. So a mix of professional services and SaaS. And from a company size perspective, we've had a lot of respondents in that sort of 11 to 500 sweet spot, which makes a lot of sense because they're big enough to start having a lot of customers and reaching that point where they need to start educating their customers at scale. And we have a few enterprises as well that have responded to this survey, which give us a good insight into what strategic customer success can look like when done digitally. And a mix of like EMEA, Americas, Asia Pacific. It's a pretty well balanced survey from a geography perspective. Moving on to our next slide. Yeah, that's just illustrating what I just said, the point I made around balancing locations. What we'll see is that unsurprisingly enough, Americas are a bit ahead of the curve in terms of trends. And we've been able to experience this since we've been running this for almost a year. We have released a few updates. And so we have insights into the very most recent days and months. And we'll see that Americas are leading the way in terms of trends in CS. We'll touch on this in a moment. That's it. Yep. Go ahead, Ben. Sorry.
No worries. Let's. One of the first questions we asked on the survey was how much CS is gaining or losing attention in your organizations, and we've been asking this question for the last, as Seb said, let's say 9 to 12 months, and it's always the same answer. CS, customer success, and including customer education, is gaining attention for at least 61% of the people who actually answered the survey. It's pretty much the same figure in all the geographics, 60 to 66%, depending on where you stand in Europe or in Asia Pacific. But that's a big number. 61% of you guys consider CS is gaining attention in their organizations. But at the same time, and that's maybe an issue, budgets are under pressure, and resources dedicated to customer success are decreasing. So basically, the budget is under pressure. The CS budget is under pressure for 37% of our organizations, and that is to be compared to 32% in December 23 and 30% only in September 23. So basically, over the last 6 months, 7% more organizations consider CS budget as being under bigger pressure. So basically, the question is how to build more customer relationships, more customer communication, more customer support with less resources. That's the question we are asked in the CS organizations, and that's we have a couple of answers following in this presentation. Another figure or another interesting figure to illustrate this budget being under pressure is the number of or the size of the CS team in our organizations, depending on the company size. It's pretty much stabilized over the last 3 months. We don't see a lot of differences between December 23 and March 24. But since June 2023 and between June 2023 and December 2023, we could see a drop in both the size of CS teams and the number of CS managers in the CS teams, meaning that clearly that there was a strategy or clearly CS teams were under pressure in terms of resources. Okay. But it tends to stabilize, which is a good news for all the CS managers and head of CS teams listening to us. We've also been asking the same question for the last 9 to 12 months about customer education position or function. Is it a function in your company? Is it gaining attention as well? And it seems like customer education function is also gaining attention. A majority of you guys, 47%, believe this customer education should be placed under the CS responsibility in the org charts, against 18% under the product responsibility and 20% as an independent function. This 20% is interesting because it's growing. Over the last 9 to 12 months, we grew from, let's say, 13% to 20%. So in more and more organizations, it seems like customer education is becoming an independent function, a transversal function. When asking this question, 44% of the respondents said they already had a customer education function in their company, against 45% in December 23. So no big deal, no big difference. 40% don't have a customer education function and are not considering implementing such a function, and 16% are planning to have one in the next couple of weeks or months. The bigger is higher in Europe, where there is a clear interest in this customer education function, because 48% of the respondents are willing or have implemented, a customer education function, against 37% in December and 31% in September 23. So it seems like in Europe there is an acceleration of these of this kind of consideration. But let's make sure this is a real trend, and we'll see in the next CS survey if this trend is confirmed or not. What about top CS priorities, Seb?
Yep. So obviously we've polled you guys. We've asked you what your CS priorities were. It's actually end of 2023, hence the 2023 number, but it's actually hasn't changed much in the last 6 months. So early 2024 also came in as a big focus on tools and processes. There's a good reason for that. I think as the market is maturing, organizations and SaaS organizations specifically come to terms with the fact that product training is not good enough to reach higher adoption rates and better retention rates. And I think we all know by now that your customers don't need to know how to click a button. They do need to know that, but they also need to know why they should click that button. And this is the main difference between product training and customer education. And so this comes with new tools. You don't do customer education with the help desk or a knowledge base. It takes more than that to educate customers. And so that's your number one priority globally in CS. The second one is to maintain up-to-date CS processes. This is because you need to scale. And as Ben said, we need to do more with less, and that comes with the right processes. And lastly, training and upskilling your CSMs is also a top priority, probably because as new tools emerge, your CS teams needs to be on top of those tools and processes. So there's no big surprise there, but I think this shift from product training to customer education is a massive shift. And we see at MeltingSpot, we see a lot of SaaS knocking on our door saying, okay, I have all this content across many different platforms that is telling my customers how to use my product, but I'm not actually finding that my customers are getting a lot of value out of them, learning more from my market, from what I'm trying to do, the value I'm trying to deliver. And so customer education is coming about pretty significantly across organizations. Obviously, in terms of job titles, the big focus, CEOs are mostly focused on allowing more self-service, so reducing headcounts, probably similar with other C-levels, and head of CS, which have probably a bit more hands-on, focusing on tools. And Americas and EMEAs are pretty aligned in terms of priorities. Best-in-class tools is top of the list. Any questions so far? Just sharing quickly results from the polls that we pushed in the chat. 90%, thank you. And still changing. 90% of you guys think that customer education can help scale customer success as a whole. We often position customer success managers as coaches, and these coaches can scale the way they serve their customers with appropriate education strategies. So I think that's we're all aligned here. Next up is your challenges. somewhat different to your priorities, probably where you're lagging or where you're finding it hard to achieve your goals. And churn is coming at the top. We see that a lot of businesses are trying to rationalize their tool stack, and so they're trying to cut on tools, and therefore churn is becoming an increasingly important topic in CS. Scaling onboarding specifically, like doing one-on-one onboarding is no longer feasible for a lot of respondents. There's got to be one-to-many strategies rolled out for old customers or for low-touch customers. In fact, some customers need a bit of high touch and low touch depending on where they are on their journey. But anyhow, scaling customer onboarding and doing more one-to-many activities is a big challenge of yours as well. And making sure that new features are adopted comes third. And I'll stop there because I think this is also something that customer education can really help with, making sure that that the time to value and the key features in your product are being adopted early on is something that most CS are focusing on. I'm going to push the next poll in the chat right now around other emerging challenges. So let me just push this.
So while Seb is sharing the poll, just to make sure it's clear to everyone, the figures in the brackets are the figures in December 23. So it's just to show when there is a trend or just when it's exactly the same figure. It's the figure compared to the figure that the figures we had in December last year.
Cool. Okay. So just feel free to answer the poll around any other potential challenges you might face. I'm posting this on LinkedIn as well. I want to make sure I'm keeping you on your toes and active during this presentation. We have 12 minutes left, so let's keep going. Okay. Ben, do you want to talk through the next slide?
Sorry, guys, but can you see the poll? I'm not sure everybody can see the poll here.
There we go. Sorry.
Okay.
Hit the button.
Here it is. Great. So the next figures, we can talk about how or what are your favorite digital customer success activations. It's basically how you interact or what is your preferred type of interaction with your customers. Live product demos come first, 58% against 61% 3 months ago. So it doesn't mean it's decreasing. It's maybe just how the size and the type of organizations we surveyed over the last 3 months that actually impacted this figure. Webinars are still very high in how you interact with your customers. On-demand video tutorials come third. Then we have live group onboarding sessions, still pretty high, 43%. Online support forum, 38%. And e-learning modules, 36%, and basically these e-learning modules are still mainly used by very large corporations, over 1,000 employees. So 55% of those large corporations use e-learning modules to interact and activate their customers. 33% of the companies we surveyed are planning to implement a community or an academy. For sure, we were interested specifically in this question, but it's interesting to see how a customer academy is considered and it's a growing number of you guys who are considering a customer academy as a good opportunity to scale your onboarding and education activation or processes. Whereas 29% of you guys already have a customer academy in place, which is a very good number as well. CS Toolbox, I'll leave it to you, Seb.
Yeah. So we've asked you guys what tools you were using. And we found that, surprisingly enough, you're still stuck in the 90s, with like 95% of you guys preferring email communication and 66% favoring phone support with customer success. So more seriously, I think it's what this is telling us is that you're still using one-on-one or high touch communication strategies by and large, but we're also seeing the rise of one-to-many communication channels with or typically self-service help desk. This number is growing, by the way, but yeah, half of you guys are using a knowledge base or a documentation site to educate your customers. But when we dive into these numbers, we find that your satisfaction score is not very important, with the 6.2 out of 10 mark on your tool stack. And we hear a lot of CS professionals telling us, well, we're using self-service tools like a help desk, a knowledge base, documentation site, but no one actually reads that content. And this is something that is causing a lot of pain to customer success, because they're using a lot of time creating that content, either in content teams or customer success teams, and this content is not faring very well. So we have a solution to this at Meltixpot. We focus a lot on in-product education, something you should look into, making sure that your education is in the context of where your customers are and personalized to who your customers are. So if you're a SaaS product, you need to drop education content where, like, inside the product, and you can use widgets for that to make sure that you have shortcuts to the right resource dropped at the right time to the right person. Customer success platforms is an increasingly used communication channel as well. It's not really a communication channel though, because what it's doing is allowing you to send emails or short messages to your customers in an automated way. Interesting number. Customer communities or customer academies are growing as well. 30% of CS professionals claim that they use an academy to educate their customers. So that's one-stop shop with all the content, be it video or courses or support forums. So that's being increasingly used, and mostly in large corporations, but not only. I think I'm not going to ask the question, are you happy with email and phone support? Because we have a view on that, and I can tell you what the answers were last time we polled you guys. Like 69% of CS professionals are not happy with email and phone support, probably because it's a lot more difficult to reach customers on the phone or by email than it used to be 5 years ago. These channels are saturated, so you've got to find other alternatives to speak to your customers. Over to you, Ben, for a few words of conclusion. We have 5 minutes ahead of us, so we're in time.
Yeah, we're on time, yes. And well, it's maybe time to take a couple of questions, if any. So don't hesitate to push your questions in the chats. As a conclusion, clearly customer success is still gaining attention in all regions, and specifically in EMEA. SMBs keep catching up on large corporations in terms of tooling and processes. So that's something that we identified 9 months ago, and it's still the case. SMBs are kind of copycatting or duplicating what works in larger corporations. So keep doing so. It's good. It's a good idea to let large corps and large teams experiment new tools and new processes, and then keep what's good and duplicate. We are asked, as CS teams, we are asked to implement tools and processes to scale. We can see a lot of job title around there on LinkedIn, such as Scaled Customer Success Manager or CS scaling processes. It's clearly something, a word that is getting very important in our CS space. We need to scale both processes and results. So we have less resources. Our organizations are asked to be, if not profitable, at least on the path to profitability. And that's a good reason to scale customer success. And to scale customer success teams need clearly to equip with new kind of tools, AI-driven tools, automation tools, and all that kind of tools that are very well known in the marketing space, and that's been very well known for the last 10 years in the marketing space, but it's probably a bit more new to the CS world. Top priorities, again, are tools to scale, just as I said, customer self-education and training. We have a great webinar coming soon with Debbie Smith. We will be talking about customer education and product training and how both are very different. Customer education, product training seems to be the same, but not at all. And then the last but not least priority for CS teams are upskilling, also training and upskilling customers. Sorry.
Can you move to the next slide?
Yep.
So yeah, that's the that's the program coming up with where we have two actually amazing CS pros taking to the melting spot stage. Nisha from Gong is going to talk through some of her CS tips and secrets during her time at Gong, and Sue Nabeth Moore is going to redefine customer success metrics with us. We thought about naming this session CS Metrics Suck. I found it a bit provocative, but that's exactly what Sue thinks, and she will talk to this, explain why we keep referring to the wrong metrics in CS. So be sure to register. Join us on the Customer Success Nation community for that, meltingspot.io/CS Nation. I'll push this in the chat. If you want to download the full report of the survey we presented, I also pushed the link to the survey in the chat, so feel free to download this. And last but not least, if you want to have a one-on-one chat with Ben or myself and talk through some of your customer education strategies and have a very open discussion around this, feel free to book some time in our diaries. I'm also pushing the right link in the chat. I think we are almost finished. I think we're finished. I'm just checking that there's no further questions in the chat, and also pushing the links that I just mentioned. But I think we're good, Ben.
We are.
And just waving goodbye to everyone on LinkedIn as well. Thanks for tuning in. And look forward to our next session together, and stay safe and happy. Speak to you soon.
Thanks a lot, guys. Have a very good day. Bye.